What's up, guys? My name is Niall Christensen, and this is how I transformed my athleticism and bulletproofed my body using the performance playbook. In this video, I'm going to show you guys the 6 phases and 2 principles that I use to do this. I'm a dual sport athlete in college right now, playing football and tennis, and I'm a strength and conditioning major at one of the top colleges for that in the country. Also, I'd be remiss to say that I'm a believer in Christ because I'd be nothing without him. Playing football at the next level was always a childhood goal of mine. But when I was in middle school, it kind of fizzled out when I realized I was small and not super athletic. I was a quarterback at maybe 5'6" on a good day. But after regaining the passion again in high school and training hard for multiple years, I hit a year stretch where I had 3 surgeries on my knees and constant back pain in between. A lot of my friends and even some mentors of mine told me that I should just give up on sports, or specifically football. But I was determined to do just the opposite. After completing the phases and using the principles of the performance playbook, my life has honestly drastically changed. I transformed the composition of my body, and I've played 2 injury-free seasons of both college football and college tennis, and I barely even missed a practice in either of those. In between these sports, I've pushed my body to the limits: boxing, jiu-jitsu, even trying to dunk unsuccessfully, but we'll get there. And with all this load on my body, I love my sports more than ever, and my knees have never been better than they are today. And if you would have told me 3 years ago that I could have 2 new knees and the athleticism and physique that I have today, I would have done absolutely anything to get that. Coaching has encompassed a large amount of my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way. When I wake up for coaching, it's different than waking up for something like work. It's waking up to partake in my passion. Some of the ways that I've fulfilled this passion are planning and running speed and agility camps in my hometown. I have programmed and taught 1-week tennis clinics. I've also been coaching youth tennis camps for about 6 years at Bobcat Tennis Academy. I've done 2 years of one-on-one speed coaching and quite a few tennis individual lessons as well. I was on a flag football coach for a team that made it to the championship of the league. There's only 3 teams, so I wouldn't put too much weight into that. I'm certified in food and health by Stanford, which really just means I paid them some money and completed a course. I don't attend Stanford. I've spent 2 years programming individual lifting plans for in-person clients, and then I spent 1 year interning at Central Strength College, strength and conditioning, learning from 2 of the top strength coaches around. You've almost certainly dealt with coaches that were unreachable and weren't there for you when you had questions, only wanted to win, even at the cost of their athletes' health and happiness, were completely incompetent and left you wondering how they even got that job, only cared about you or your athlete during your sport and treated them like they're a chess piece. They pushed too hard, causing burnout, especially young athletes, killing their love for athletics in general, or maybe even didn't push at all and left their athletes' potential on the table. Or maybe they played favorites, giving their attention and coaching only to those they liked and cared about, or didn't communicate and left you confused, helpless, and wondering the direction they were taking. Most of all, you may have dealt with coaches that weren't fun and just didn't give their athletes any reason to keep coming back day after day. Personally, I'll be reachable at my number. Unless I'm sleeping, answering my athletes' questions are a top priority for me. I create success for my athletes, and I want them to be the best at everything they do, not just in the gym, but as life as a whole. I'm a lifelong learner, and I love reading. I'm never satisfied with the amount of knowledge I know, and I always want to learn more. I care about my athletes outside of sports, and I want them to be happy and healthy in their lives, outside of the gym as well. I want to help prevent injuries, and I understand rest. I prescribe training that will challenge my athletes, but never grind them into the ground, because without proper rest, no work can truly get done. I instill motivation intrinsically with competitive challenges, accountability partners, and mindset training. I treat all athletes with respect, because everyone in this world is created in God's image, and they all deserve to be treated as such. I always communicate with what I'm seeing. Whether it's form, diet, or lifestyles that need to change, I'll tell you honestly and kindly. These all represent me, and I'm asking you to always hold me accountable to them. And now we start getting into why you're probably here. How do you become a super athlete that never gets injured? Despite what a lot of popular fitness gurus are going to tell you, it doesn't happen overnight, which is why my program is split into 6 phases. These are meant to be repeated, and after each cycle, you should be a markedly different person than you were before. I'll detail out each phase in a minute, but for now I'm going to give you the bird's eye view. Phase 1 is going to be vastly different depending on what type of athlete we're dealing with. Older and more experienced athletes are going to be able to handle a lot more load up front, and so their stage 1 is going to look a lot different than others. With young kids or other new athletes, this is going to be a very conservative stage, so we can ensure proper form and avoid injuries. But for even the best of athletes, this is going to be preparation stage. A big focus of phase 1 is going to be on goal setting. We're going to be learning about healthy habits and laying out the foundation for them as well. And shortly I'll give you some examples that are really going to let you understand how all this works. In phase 2, we now have proper form established. We're going to have sets, reps, and time under tension pretty high to build hypertrophy and provide a base for our plans later on. Once again, if we're dealing with an advanced athlete, this is going to be a relatively short phase. Phase 3 is going to be a lot longer than the first two, with there being 3 mesocycles that make it up. This is going to take a little bit longer to explain, some more on that later. Phase 4 will be a blast. This is where you can smash the goals, test all of the attributes, and get the reward for all the hard work that you put in. Phase 5 is going to be a recovery phase to follow. After achieving a lot over the last phase, it's time to give the body some much needed rest. The workouts during this phase are going to be easier and less frequent, and new goals will be set for the next cycle as well. And then phase 6 is where we start from the beginning once again. After completing this macro cycle, we can't be satisfied with our progress. Although our short-term goals have been accomplished, it's time to go after the new ones that we just set. There's also going to be 2 big principles of my training that are critical to the success of my athletes. The first is progressive overload, and it's definitely the simpler of the two. If you haven't already heard of progressive overload, it's just a gradual increase in intensity, volume, or difficulty over time. Basically, train harder than last time. To make this easier to understand, if you do 100 push-ups a day at first, you're going to get stronger from it. But after a while, your body's going to adapt, and it's no longer going to be enough stimulus for you to get better. You need to either do more push-ups, which is increase the volume, add some weight to the push-ups, like maybe some plates on your back, that's increasing the intensity, or do a harder version of the push-up, which is intensity, maybe fingertip push-ups, diamond push-ups, that sort of thing. These are the 3 levers that we can pull to ensure athletes never hit a plateau. There are people out there that think they can just keep training at the same intensity and get stronger, but this doesn't work. We have to make things harder over time. To visualize progressive overload, we have Milo and his bull. This is a popular story from Greek mythology, I believe. Milo received the bull as a calf, and Milo carried it up the mountain each and every day, and as the bull grew, so did his muscles. We also have one of my favorite quotes: "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results." It's attributed to Albert Einstein, even though he debatably didn't even actually say it, but it sounds cooler when we say it's from him, so we're going to leave it. Undulating periodization is a training method that spreads training qualities out based on the days. This is awesome because when you only train one quality at a time, like in a normal program, you start to lose the adaptation that you got from the last block. We don't get this detraining effect with undulation because we're training multiple qualities in the same week. Examples here are speed, power, strength, and hypertrophy. With undulating, we're also going to be preventing boredom because the exercise variety is going to be high and each workout will look different. But the biggest advantage is going to be that your body can recover better. For example, training with a high load is going to tax your central nervous system really heavily. So instead of maxing out again the next day, we're going to do some lower weight hypertrophy work. Finally, the ability to customize this program depending on the athlete's needs is very high. For example, if we're going to be dealing with a high school freshman that's built like a stick, they're going to have a lot more work to do on the hypertrophy side. But if we're deep in the season of a college starter approaching playoffs, they don't really need to get a whole lot bigger or stronger, so their training is going to be more heavily on the speed and power side to keep them fresh. This program is also going to use dynamic effort days where we're going to be training speed in both our upper and lower body. And this is something called the conjugate method used by Westside Barbell, which has similar benefits to undulation periodization. In phase 1, the athlete will get to decide the direction that they want to go. I will build out a goal profile with them, including their sport, secondary sports, and their own personal goals as well. The next step for them is to test their abilities, give us some numbers, and that's going to allow them to track their progress throughout their cycles. They also are going to be able to choose their goals that are most important to them, and that's going to be how I dictate how I structure their training. For example, let's say their biggest goal is to dunk a basketball. Then explosiveness and lower body strength is going to be the biggest focuses of our lifts. Then we're also going to be building out the lifestyle changes that they need to accomplish their goal. This could be eating cleaner to lean out or fixing their sleeping habits to feel fresher. In phase 2, we now have a direction, and so the athlete's going to start training. This phase will provide the hypertrophy base for our future and also accumulate the body to soreness and fatigue. After a few weeks, your body will start to get adjusted and we're going to be able to increase the difficulty. In this phase, new lifters can expect to put on a massive amount of strength, which is how newbie gains gets its name. Then on our last lifestyle side, we're already decided our changes in the last phase, so now it's time to actually implement them. We're not going to go from 0 to 100 for our lifestyle, just like we don't in our training. The theory of progressive overload still applies here, and if we want real sustainable change, then creating realistic, consistent habits is how we do that. Some examples with diet may be cutting our soda consumption in half, or even positive goals like one perfectly clean meal per day. Down the road, we can improve our habits little by little until we get to our destination. Phase 3 of the performance playbook is the meat and the bones of the program. We have 3 mini phases of strength, power, and speed. Even though we're already going to be training multiple of these per week with undulating periodization, it will still serve us very well to be overloading one of these harder than the others. During the strength block, for example, we will still be training the other qualities, but our strength days are going to be more intense than the others. This is also going to be the phase with the most competitions. And competing with other athletes is remarkably effective for ensuring athletes are always giving max effort and having a blast. On my football team in college, for example, we were always competing against each other in the weight room, and trying to improve my ranking is possibly the most fun part of the season. This is purely optional in the Performance Playbook program, and any athlete that does not want their competition shared does not have to. They can instead work on beating their previous best. But on the website, you'll be able to see the rankings of the athletes, and it will be filterable by the age group like you see below. The winner of each competition cycle will also win a pretty cool t-shirt and a custom medal. Phase 4 is going to be a short and intense phase. If the cycle as a whole is a 100-meter sprint, then phase 1 is just the preparation phase where you're getting into your blocks. Phase 2 is going to be the start or the drive of your sprint, and phase 3 is going to be that long straightaway where you speed past your competition. Phase 4 is going to be simply crossing that finish line and achieving your success. We will test the goals the athlete wanted to surpass, and once the phase is over, new ceilings will have been raised and new expectations will have been set. Phase 5 is going to be a recovery phase. If we're continuing with this 100-meter analogy, it's just coasting through after your race. Athletes cannot go 100 miles an hour year-round, and this is when my athletes need their break. You can use the tools from my courses, which I'll explain later, to maximize your recovery as well. This phase will last 1 to 2 weeks, and this should be a time of relaxation. We'll recap what we did well and what we should change for the next cycle. And phase 6 is going to bounce us right back to the start. We're going to be making new goals and making the changes we need in our training to surpass them. If we need to change our diet or sleeping or other lifestyle methods, then we'll start that now as well. The Performance Playbook is full one-on-one coaching. Like I said, unless I'm sleeping or training, I'll be able to respond to each and every athlete question. There's also a progress form on the website that you'll receive after workout so I can keep track of your training. I also meet with you weekly to discuss how the training for the week has gone, and I'll update the training each and every week to ensure it's accurate as the athlete goes stronger and stronger. This graphic here below shows the particular muscle groups being used on this given day, and it'll change each and every day. It's also shown alongside the progress towards the goal and then compared to the benchmarks for their particular sport, and you saw that on the previous slide. Community is an incredible effective tool like we discussed before. Everyone knows that team culture is critical to an athlete's success, and this is what we emulate here at the Performance Playbook. If interested, athletes are assigned to a team so they can compete both as a team and individually like we discussed before. The courses are also on the website, which are a constantly growing collection of critical mini-series to guide athletes for their journey. Just a few of these courses are in-depth videos on every movement prescribed in the training plan to ensure proper form and so you aren't YouTubing 5 movements every single workout. We're also going to have an injury and mobility training plan built out for you if you have specific body parts that are particularly fragile, you want to get those healthy. We're going to have breathing routines, both for sleep, recovery, and performance. We're also going to have recipes and ideas for healthy eating to track that part of your life as well. If you are ready to find a healthy lifestyle, break personal records, achieve the most unreachable goals, and enjoy training again, send a DM or book a free call today.